Hello again. Well, this project's going to be a real leap out of my comfort zone. Not only do I not have a great deal of confidence making aircraft, I've only ever made one 144 aircraft before, and I think that was in probably 1973 or 1974. I made an Airfix TriStar, the old airliner kit. So I haven't touched 144 since then, but I do have this rather lovely Hawker Hunter from Revell, which I paid the princely sum of £2.99 for many years ago. If only we still lived in those times when you could buy a kit for £2.99 or less. Anyway, join me as I struggle through this build. You've already seen it. You've seen the thumbnail. You know it. You know what it turns out like. At this point in time, I have no idea. So it's going to be a bit of a voyage of discovery for me. As you'd expect from a tiny little kit, there's a tiny little instruction sheet. Hardly anything to stick together on this one. A couple of marking options. Colour schemes identical. One RAF, one Swiss. Two little sprues and a decent looking decal sheet there. Simplicity itself really, isn't it, this one? Pretty decent looking plastic, although the transparency looks like it's about 6 scale inches thick. Stuck the cockpit together there. The only little modification I've made is on the exhaust. The edge of that is particularly chunky, so I just took a knife to it and thinned it down, gave it a more of a fine edge. Stick it in place and sandwich it between the two fuselage halves. Slightly wobbly, but got it straight in the end. Just getting some dark colour into the cockpit area, sort of an off black if you like. Dry brushing the seat. I didn't really consider it was worth detailing this at all, and I forgot to put the decal sheet in for the instrument panel, but quite frankly you can't see it anyway. There's a massively thick transparency, and as I thought really, you can't see much of the cockpit through that thing. I put a load of lead weight in it. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a tail sitter or not. I'd probably put in more than I need, but better that than too little. And of course, if I don't like the plane, with extra weight, it'll fly a lot better out my bedroom windows as it plummets down to the ground below. Might even bury itself into the ground with all that weight. It's a pretty good fitting piece of plastic, considering it's quite old, this moulding. I'm not sure what year it is, but it's certainly not a new tooling. But the fit of virtually all the parts is superb. Just a couple of clothes pegs to hold it all together. Okay, 3 clothes pegs to hold it all together. I put some more weight in this front bit, this sort of front nose area. 2 pieces to stick on, the little nose cone and the undercarriage bay underbelly type thing, and there's enough space in there to stuff a bit more lead inside it. So I stuck the cone on first, stuck more lead in, and then stuck the underbelly thing bit on it. There's a huge gap around these 2 parts of the wing. I decided not to do anything about it because it's underneath, and I'm not going to bother looking at it. I won't be picking it up and turning it upside down. And you can see there that huge gap. I mean, it could easily be fixed, I guess, but I chose not to. And some pretty neat little holes for the pylons to go there. So let's stick those on. And there's the wings all stuck together. I painted the inside of the intake area a sort of dark grey, because you can see a little bit obviously in the Hunter. I wasn't going to detail it. I think there's a little sort of air fence that should be there, but I wasn't going to bother at this scale to do any scratch building. And it's starting to look like a Hunter now. Then on with all the little things, so the nose gear and undercarriage door things. Same with the other wheels. Get in there, go on. Go on. Right, masking. Does anyone actually enjoy masking? I mean, the process of actually sticking tape down onto a model, I hate it. As you can see, I've outlined the canopy with masking tape and I'm just using fluid to fill in the gaps. It's a loathsome but necessary job. Right, slice a few more little bits off here. The undercarriage doors have these little knockout pins on which need to be sliced off, and if you have the undercarriage down, you also need to separate the doors into two pieces. Nice little razor saw does the job easily. And that's the aircraft primed, but we don't need that right now. Let's make a base. So it's just a box picture frame with a bit of foam in, another couple of bits of foam, and a piece of cardboard, just a cereal packet cardboard. And I'm just scribing in detail, so the representation of concrete slabs. And then just sort of scoring them, making them a little bit deeper. And using a sharp sort of cutty tool, no idea what the tool is, don't know where it came from, it's in my toolbox, and I like this particular tool. Using this kind of sharp cutty tool, I'm making some damages to the concrete, so sort of chips and cracks in a few places. They'll become more apparent shortly. So now I'll stick the card down to this piece of, sort of packing foam. Squish it around, put a heavy weight on it. And that's it, with a little bit of sort of pre-shading and mottling applied to it. And I'm going to use a mixture of these two colours to give light coverage over the top. And then using some oil paint, so that's Naples yellow, Van Dyke brown, lamp black is that? Or ivory black. And maybe use a raw umber and titanium white. Thinned quite heavily. Mix a couple of colours together as well. I'll apply them very sparingly to the joints between the concrete and sort of around the cracks and stuff. And it's just to give some sort of relief to that rather monotone surface. And here's some the lighter colour I mixed up, and I'm just using this to sort of highlight the edges to depict sort of cracking and wear across along the edges of the concrete slabs. So you can sort of see it fairly clearly there. And this is alkyd oil paint, which is essentially just ordinary oil paint with some liquin, which is an alkyd resin mixed into it. And what this does is make the paint slightly more translucent because it's thinner, but it also speeds the drying time, which I find really useful. And I quite like alkyd paints or oil paints with this liquid mixed into it for this sort of the subtlety you can get with them. And all I'm doing here is sort of depicting sort of an algae growth, moss growth around in a few places around. And it's not meant to be bright and vivid. From certain angles, you can pick up a green tinge to it, which is just the result I was after. And here I'm just going to apply a depiction of sort of oil stains or spills. So I just wet the surface with a little bit of white spirit, and then it's using very thin paint, oil paint, Van Dyke brown I think, and put just a few little spots on. Again, more than anything, just to break up the monotony of the surface. And a wee bit more up there. Alright, so I've painted the underside of the aircraft, the RAF high-speed silver, or my version of it, which is just basically a mixture of Vallejo Model Air silver and a light grey. It's probably about 50-50, maybe slightly more grey than silver actually. And there's more of that dreadful masking, including the drop tanks. I hate masking shapes like that. I'll mix these two colours to make the grey of the upper surfaces. And there it is, and it kind of looks okay to me. Now, there's a couple of areas where the masking didn't work on these drop tanks, and they will require touch up later. I tried masking the upper surfaces and airbrushing, but I've resorted to brush painting. Model air again, it's just so much easier, and it's so much easier to apply the paint sometimes on a small surface like this, I think. The model air is such a fine paint. It's dead easy to brush paint, and you get nice sharp edges, nice sharp demarcation lines using a brush, and there's no going back over things and having to repair overspray and all the rest. White band around the back of the aircraft was airbrushed though. Now the masking coming off, that kind of looks okay. That looks about right to me. And on with the decals. I decided to go for the Swiss scheme. No reason other than I don't have any Swiss aircraft in my collection. I thought, well, why not add one? The decals were actually very good quality. They all went down flawlessly. Pretty fine, pretty thin, settled down nicely. They're all in register. Good stuff, Revell. And then I did a sort of pin wash. I think this is probably Van Dyke Brown again. I didn't want to make the aircraft too. Yes, there it is. Look, Van Dyke Brown. I didn't want to make the aircraft too dirty. I kind of like the look of a clean Hunter. I know in some air forces, maybe the Middle Eastern ones, they kind of may have suffered under the sun and got a bit faded and dull. But I kind of like the cleanliness that I've seen many photographs of the European schemes. So I decided to keep it pretty clean. What I did do was try to mottle a little bit of oil paint in just to break up the surface of the green and the grey. It kind of works, but I should have done more. I think I was a little bit too timid with it. As you can see, I've wet the surface with white spirit. I'm just using thin oil paint to sort of mottle it and dab on. And then once that has mostly evaporated, I use the soft brush to go over and try and blend it in. And I think the effect kind of works, but it's just I was too timid. I should have done a lot more of it. I didn't know where the line was, and I didn't want to step over that line between making the surface sort of interesting and not monotone, and making it look worn out and dirty and faded, which I didn't want to achieve. And I've kind of achieved neither, I think. But you know, lessons learned, eh? And there it is, ready for, I believe, a little more pin washing in places to bring out some of the detail in places that I missed. And demasking, yay! Kind of looks alright, I think. And stick all the undercarriages on and the drop tanks and rocket pods. And there it is, almost finished. The pitot tube, yeah, I should have made a smaller one, shouldn't I? But I wasn't in the mood again. But this one's adequate. And there it is. What did I think of it? Well, that was a lot of fun. As I said, it was out of my comfort zone, but that was a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I've done a kit as small as this. And when I did, my hands were probably half the size they are now. And my eyesight was a heck of a lot better as well. But I kind of struggled through it in places simply because of the size of the thing. My hands are just big and clumsy, and this thing is tiny and petite. But it was good. I enjoyed it. The kit really impressed me. It went together so well, and it's detailed enough for a model of this size. I think if you tried to cram more detail into it, it could look maybe a bit clunky or cumbersome. But it works really well. Really, really like this little model now. Thanks for sharing with me while I struggle through this new to me experience. That was enjoyable. I enjoyed making the video. Please do keep watching. Please do comment. My shoulders are broad. I can take constructive criticism. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. And hopefully I'll be back here again soon with another video for you.